what's happening around the economy. But we're continuing the show. Emeka Olugu, a marketing specialist, is joining me right now. It's another Wednesday, the CBN weekly segment, where we will be looking at the cotton value chain, precisely cotton. If you are an ardent viewer of this program, you would know that there was a time, in fact, there was a week I did a series, the whole week, on commodities and how we can take advantage of the various commodities Nigeria is blessed with, from cotton to palm oil to rice to even yam to cassava to cocoa. We are the biggest producer of cassava in the world, for example. What are we doing with it? Just Gary, you know. But Emeka Olugu is joining me. Let's talk about cotton. Welcome to you, sir, and thank you for joining us on the show today. How are you doing?
Very well, and thanks for having me.
Where should we start from? Why do you think it is necessary that perhaps these actions that we're seeing from the central bank taking is, is necessary to develop the cotton value chain, to develop cotton sector, before I even go to the value chain? Okay.
Basically, Nigeria is endowed with a lot of agricultural and natural resources. So what is even more real than apparent is having to exploit all these resources and bringing them to finished products. So that at the end of the day, we all know that there are more profits that we can get when the raw materials or primary resources are processed into finished goods. So it will undoubtedly translate to higher growth rate for broader economy, resulting in increased rural incomes and improvement in the living standards for a majority of Nigeria, while we are being weaned from the proceeds of crude oil, as an economy in Nigeria. So basically, it is important that our country would have to exploit and translate this endowment of cotton and begin to use it to begin to have other things around the chain for a better value.
You know, the central bank, apart from cotton too, has taken initiatives in other commodities.
That's
I
right.
announce that almost all the time on the show. I think they're focused on 10 basic commodities, which cotton is part of. Why do you think the central bank took this decision to come into that and say, we need to just harness these sectors?
It is part of central bank's intervention aimed at conserving foreign exchange. We all know we're endowed, so it's good. The flagging up was commenced by the director of the governor of a central bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, when he went to Castina, because they are immensely endowed naturally because of the climate to be able to produce these farmers who can plant these things. So he came up with inputs, improved seedlings, which he gave to them. And at the end of the day, it was flagged off in 2019 farming season. So about 100,000 farmers were given these farm inputs, inclusive of improved seeds and pesticides and fertilizers and knapsack sprayers, so that they will begin to put all these things into use, so that at the end of the day, we can have a boost in cotton production.
Okay, if we come to the cotton value chain right now, it's a chain from the farming to the spinning,
That's right.
to textile, to garment and all of that. I did say at the intro that many years ago we had many companies in Nigeria that were involved in this textile subsector, employing a lot of people. It's a labor-intensive sector. Why do you think that we've really lost the opportunities in that sector? Because if you take a look at our unemployment rate now, 23%, and this is one sector that can actually create jobs and get young people to work.
Yes, back in the days, we had actually had a boost in the garment industry. And because of losses, so they had problems with poor seedlings, they had problems with access to loans, they had problems with people being able to do what is needed for them to do, particularly the farmers. And a whole lot of people were actually into smuggling of these things into the country. These are textiles into the country. So that hampered to a very great extent what we used to have in Nigeria as at the 70s and the 80s. We actually had a big time in Nigeria. Nigeria became a big time for garment industry. Nigeria actually was the homestay of garment in Africa. But over time, some of these companies began to die down because they had problems with cotton production. A lot of people who should have been there to produce, the farmers with proper equipment in terms of seed and seedlings and other inputs, they are not really being given to them. So right now, what the CBN has done is to flag off a distribution of these improved cotton seeds to these 100,000 farmers to cultivate on 200,000 hectares of land, so that at the end of the day, we can boost a good length, a highly improved cotton length, so that by the year 2020, we should be able to have about 300,000 tons of cotton, as against what we had last 2 years of 80,000 tons. So there's going to be an improved variety of cottons, which has already been distributed by the CBN governor himself to the people of Katsina State, the farmers of about 100,000 people to cultivate on 200,000 farmland, thousands of land, 200,000 hectares of land. So that at the end of the day, there will be an improved variety of cotton, so that at the end of the day, we should be able to have this improved cotton length given to the generary people who are industries that would have to make these things into, into cloth garments, so that at the end of the day, we should be able to have a boost sector.
So you think with these steps, can we really create employment along this value chain? And if we can, how soon should we begin to see the fruits of the labor of the central bank?
Basically, like I said, last year, about the 2019, May 6th, there was a flag off of distribution of cotton seeds. So right now, we have an estimation that by the end of this year, we would have been able to generate 300 tons of cotton. So by the time we do this, at the end of the day, we should have had about 300,000 tons of cotton. And the employment people would have been more, because earlier we had about 450,000 people in the sector. So now, at the end of this distribution period, we should be able to have 300,000 tons, and a lot more farmers will be involved, and there's going to be a more distribution chain, and value will be added to the cotton.
So you're saying, in essence, with these steps now, we should see more people involved.
That's right. There'll be more people involved, both the farmers, both the people in the distribution chain, and the industry will be revamped, and there'll be a generation of there's going to be a backward integration of people who will be involved in this work of cotton and textile production.
I remember last year, the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, headed by Godwin Emefiele, did sign, I think, an MOU with cotton, the National Association of Cotton Producers, along that value chain with them. I think last year, he also did that, I think, with cassava, among those commodities which are the support. How do you assess the steps being taken now by the CBN? How do you assess the steps so far?
The steps so far, it's really commendable. It is commendable because he has gone back a little bit to integrate the farmers, who are the real people that will generate these resources, the raw material, that would go to the generaries, who will now take them from there to the yarns, textile mills, and begin to mill them into garments, into textiles for garment making. So that at the end of the day, it is a good step in the right direction, I must say, and they should be really commended. Above all, it's going to be able to conserve our foreign exchange, at the same time backwardly integrate our local farmers and generate a good economy and conserve our scarce foreign exchange. All these youth restiveness will be curbed to a very large level, because youths are going to be involved, because what CBN really intends to do, having been able to distribute these cotton seeds to them and all the inputs, what they really intend to do furthermore is to grant them access to soft loans, with which to be able to...
I was coming to that, because for some of our viewers listening or watching, they want to say, okay, fine, I want to get into the sector. How easy is it for me to perhaps to get finance if I want to get into the sector and all of that?
Yeah, the CBN governor had earlier said that it's going to be a lot more easy, and there are modalities already on to be able to grant them good loans on a single-digit interest rate. So that at the end of the day, every cotton farmer who is worth its salt has access to this soft loan on a single-digit interest rate, and they will also be given farm input with improved seedlings, so that we should be able, about the end of this year, generate 300,000 tons of cotton, as against 80,000 tons 2 years ago.
Okay. For those of you watching and you want to send us your comments, please feel free to do that. We're on all social media platforms. You can just send your questions, your opinions. The ones for Central Bank, we'll move it to them, you know, to answer. And definitely another Wednesday next week, I would have another segment for them perhaps to answer any question you really want to ask. Please feel free to do that. Let me just take these comments coming in on Twitter. Sammy Lele on Twitter says, I always miss this informative show due to my work schedule. So having Moneyline AIT, that's our ad on Twitter, having you on social media ensures viewers are informed while on the move. Great job, Nancy and AIT, for this long-awaited and overdue initiative. Sammy Lele will be on. You're just joining the train, but welcome on board. So for those of you that are upwardly mobile, with your phone, you can actually watch all your favorite shows on your mobile phone, which is your TV now. So this is your on-the-go TV. All right, let's move on with the program. Emeka Olugu, a marketing specialist, is still with me. We're speaking about the cotton value chain. And I must say something, that cotton is also internationally traded. It's a commodity that is internationally traded like other commodities. I, do the analysis every day. Cocoa, Brent, gold. You trade a lot of commodities, yes. Even soya beans is being traded. You have corn is being traded, livestock. So all these cows going about. Dairy. Yes, all these cows going about. It's being traded. So we need to harness those commodities in the country to expand our revenue sources. All right, Mr. Olugu, let me ask you this question. How soon do you think the country can recover the lost opportunities in these sectors, especially cotton that we're talking about? Because we've lost so much. A lot of people don't have jobs anymore. Those factories, those textile factories have turned to something else. They are warehouses for some other things. Yes. So how soon do you think we can recover these lost opportunities?
With this CBN intervention, and with what they really have in the pipeline, one of which is granting them access to cheap loan, and also captive possibilities where power plants will be done for those who are really in the textile mill in some localities of the various states where the farmers really stay, they should be able to have this thing recovered. The economy for the subsector should be able to be revamped. And at the end of the day, we're hoping to have that soonest, I must say, because a lot has really been put in place. Like I said earlier, the CBN governor had been able to flag off the distribution of improved seedlings. And in addition to that, he has given them inputs inclusive of sprayers, pesticides, knapsack sprayers, and the fertilizers. He has also been able to organize people who, the respective governors of the various states, 30 states of 36 of the Federation, where cotton is being planted in this part of the world, in Nigeria. He's been able to get them to come together as a tag team to be able to have a captive power plant in industrial areas where textile manufacturers operate in order to enhance their productivity. And he's been able to do what they call Anchor Boros program of the CBN to be able to link these farmers with the gineries, so that whatever thing that is produced from the farmers, there's an offtake by the gineries, so that at the end of the day, there's a proper linkage, people are coming together, people are being interested because of the packages that this central bank now of Nigeria is being able to gather together. So a lot of people is really stimulating desire and inspiration for a whole lot of farmers who actually been brought together. And they're really doing quite a lot to make sure we'll be able to revamp the economy and conserve these forex that we don't seemingly have, as it were.
Okay, let me just give our viewers some info. That's some information, vital information on cotton, at least the last data that I have. That's as at last year. October 2019, the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, had said that the Apex Bank is looking at the intervention of about 100 billion naira, that is injecting 100 billion naira into the cotton, textile, and garment value chain. He also did mention last year, I think I was at that event, where the bank had disbursed about 50 billion naira. I'm just, you know,
a couple.
Yeah, yeah, like a recap to our viewers. He said that the Apex Bank had disbursed about 50 billion naira to the cotton and ginning components of that value chain, because it's a value chain from the farm. It doesn't just stop at the farm where cotton, you know, that's in like cotton wool.
It is like cotton wool,
Yes,
actually.
yes.
You just harvest it from the farm, put
yes.
it in a sack, and then take it to the ginneries,
yes.
where they are processed for that.
So it's a value chain. So even from the farmer to all those processes, a lot of jobs can be created. I told you earlier when we were discussing that an MOU was signed, I think, with the National Cotton Association of Nigeria, as well as ginning companies. That was last year, Nigerian Textile Manufacturers. He did mention, that's Godwin Emefiele did mention that money is not really the main concern, but the desire to take control of that sector. To do the needful. Yes, to do the needful. That's so that that sector can indeed create jobs.
On his leg again.
Yes. And I think he did also mention at that meeting that about 19.6 billion naira, yes, I think about 19.6 or 19.1 billion naira has been granted to finance 9 ginneries with, you know, that is revamping their processing plants and processing tools and what have you. So I think that's the recap, or that's the update that I have.
That's right, that's right.
For now.
It's in process already.
Yeah.
It is in process already. A lot have really showed interest. And CBN, like an intervention have gone ahead to be able to invite them on a roundtable conference so that they'll begin to give them these things and make sure they're really properly being utilized. So that at the end of the day, we should be able to see a revamped sector, because it gives us a manufacturing and agricultural sector is about 52% of the GDP of the Nigerian economy. So it's what revamping, more so when there is a lot of youth restiveness. You know, you need to be able to gather all of these people together and put them into good use, because there's a whole lot of endowment. Nigeria is particularly endowed, and we really have so much to really garner and exploit and be able to translate them to finished products to be able to do the needful. So it is quite something I would want to commend, and it's laudable from the point of view of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Okay.
I think that's the much we can take really on today's edition of the program. Thank you, Mr. Olugu, for coming, speaking on the cotton value chain. You can be rest assured that this program definitely was following all the CBN intervention measures. With this segment every Wednesday, CBN Weekly, it was created so that we can follow the path of the central bank. Sometimes it's not about money, you know, because we know, yes, in fact, I was accused by Dr. Tule, who is a director at the Monetary Policy Department of the CBN. He said the last time he came, he said, Nancy, so you're talking money is not the problem, but before you people were saying it's finance, finance, finance. Sometimes it's not about money, sometimes it's about following the processes through, and the CBN Weekly segment is doing that for you. Just